Friends just enjoying themselves on a night out. One of them disappears.
I turned around, had a couple of shots literally in my hand like that, and he wasn't there.
And the teenager's captured on CCTV as he walks home.
How can he vanish from under the gaze of so many cameras?
Perhaps this morning you can help find him.
This is Missing Live. Your help is needed to find just some of the UK's missing people.
Hundreds of calls have already come in on the cases we've already featured this week. The police and missing people are here live every day to take any information. This is George from Missing People. Morning, George.
Good morning.
How's it gone last night? What sort of response have you had?
We've had an absolutely huge amount of calls since the programme went out yesterday. A lot of people have called in regarding David Harrison, the gentleman featured yesterday.
So he's the older guy that didn't know who he was up in Oldham, I believe, is that?
Absolutely. You know, some people have been calling in saying they think he could be a long-lost relative, a long-lost friend, or some people have just recognised the description. We've also had 3 unconfirmed sightings of Catrice Lee, which is fantastic news.
Okay. Well, quickly, we've had a James Hughes is a case that was in the papers today. Really big news. 22-year-old lad, seriously mentally ill, and his mother's been found dead. Is that something that you're looking at the moment?
Well, you know, it's just another example of an extremely vulnerable missing person, and, you know, the charity would urge anyone who's got any information about him at all to get in touch.
Well, I understand. If anyone's got any information on that, it's West Mercia Police that are dealing with that case, and their number's there on your screen. Well, thanks, Georgina. We'll be speaking later in the chat.
Thank you.
Today, we'll be talking to Derek Asker. He's 76 and he's just discovered he has a sister. They're reunited and they're here live today.
They were just close mates on a fun night out, but one of them has never come home.
The town of Woodbridge is just 9 miles from the Suffolk coast. Luke Durbin grew up here with his mum and sister.
As a little boy, he was very quiet. He was really, really loving. Just a really gentle-natured little boy.
Luke's really popular at school and has lots of friends.
We all got together at high school, and Luke's the year below, and just sort of, you know, hanging out, going to parties, you know, messing around on a BMX every now and then, you know, sort of, that's how we got together. We sort of hit it off, really.
When Luke was about, I don't know, 13, he got really into guitar, and that took over everything. And he started having lessons, and, you know, he was really talented.
After leaving school, Luke goes to college, but decides it's not for him. So in March 2006, he gets a job at a deli in the local village of Aldburg.
Luke was a very good worker from the offset, really. He was just really keen. I think for him it was his first sort of opportunity to have a really nice little job locally, and he was very, he just wanted to learn everything and know everything.
His boss, she was absolutely fantastic with Luke. I mean, she really, I think, just gave him the confidence he needed and gave him a lot of responsibility, and he thrived on it. He bought a new motorbike. He was just really happy. Everything was good for Luke.
It's the 11th of May 2006. Luke is planning an evening out.
Luke was in really high spirits. He'd taken the day off work the next day because him and a couple of friends were going out for the night. Luke was on the phone when he was laughing so much. You know, we were laughing at him laughing. And, you know, he literally walked out of our kitchen door laughing.
Straight after work, Luke rushes out to meet his friend Zach. They have a few drinks and then take a taxi to Woodbridge.
We paid the cab driver and we went towards the club, Zest. Luke didn't have, you know, a substantial amount of money on him that night, so I'd pay for the drinks once we got into the club, and you know, we were in there for quite a while. I mean, I don't know, about a good hour and a half or so, and just at one stage I was buying some shots for us. I turned around, had a couple of shots literally in my hand like that, and he wasn't there.
Zach walks around the club but can't find Luke. Thinking his friend must have left, he decides to go home. When she opens the shop on Saturday morning, Luke's boss quickly realises something is wrong.
Luke not coming to work that morning was very out of character for him, and you know, we were quite alarmed.
Luke's mum assumes he stayed overnight at his mate's.
Nikki rang later that day and asked if Luke had come to work, and we said, well, no, he hasn't come to work and we haven't heard from him.
I can just remember having this sort of panic, and really that was the start of our nightmare.
Later on Missing Live, what will crucial CCTV evidence reveal about Luke's movements?
Around about 2 a.m, a lad who we are 99% sure was Luke was found at Ipswich railway station.
If you think you've seen Luke or know anything about where he might be, please call Missing People 0500 700 700. Landlines are free, mobiles will vary.
As well as over 100 calls to missing people on the cases we've already featured, there's also sightings being reported to police direct across Britain. In particular, the case of John Iveson. Now, he was missing from Nantwich in the northwest. On the phone now, we've got Detective Inspector David Blood live from Cheshire Police. Good morning, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Rob.
What's the latest on the John Iveson case then?
Yes, since the appeal, we've received 3 calls from the public regarding potential sightings of the Ford Transit tipper truck Q289YUX, which belongs to John Iveson and disappeared at the same time as him.
So how important is that then, the vehicle?
Yeah, it disappeared at the same time. We are making the assumption he disappeared with the vehicle, and locating it will assist us in locating John, we think.
And how many calls did you say you've had?
Yeah, we've had 3 calls so far. We've had a sighting in Helensburgh in Scotland.
But obviously what we really want is for him to be found as well as the vehicle.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you can ask the public to do to help?
Yeah, I'm also still appealing for people who knew John to contact Cheshire Police. I'm keen to establish John's business dealings at the time he disappeared.
Well, brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, and good luck with the case. John was last seen on the 30th of January in Nantwich, Cheshire. If you know anything, please call Cheshire Police on 0845 458 0000. Normal rates apply there.
Let me tell you about another case that missing people need your help with. What is it, Georgia? Right, this is Michael Thomas. He's been missing from North Cornwall, Trafalgar in North Cornwall, since the 2nd of February 2008. He could have travelled to London, but this is unconfirmed.
Michael's 5'10" tall, athletic looking, with blue eyes and long curly brown hair. He has a mole on his left cheek and may now have grown a beard. So if you've seen him or have any idea where he might be, please call Missing People. The details are on your screen now.
A couple spend an evening in together. Everything seems fine, but in the middle of the night, he gets up and drives away, and he's never seen again. The village of Golka is outside Huddersfield in Yorkshire. Steve Cooper is 47 and lives here with his partner, Claire.
I first met Steve in 1997, Christmas party, but we really didn't start going out till the February 98. We were inseparable then.
Steve and Claire both had children from their first marriages, and 10 years ago they moved in together.
I've got a daughter of 18 and Ian's nearly 16, Nathan's 19, and they all get on pretty good, close together.
They've just been the family ever since, and they've made a go of it and they've been really happy. And Stephen's brought them up as his own kids along with Nathan.
Steve has a genetic medical condition and he's not able to work.
It's called a Marfan syndrome. It affects the valves in the heart, and obviously that could cause heart failure.
I found it really hard, you know, to walk very far, really. And especially in the winter, he found it quite hard when it was cold. Every limb that hurts even more.
There's no cure for Marfan syndrome, but with Claire's support, Steve learns to live with it. and he's able to really enjoy the time they spend together.
We've always gone out for meals, we've socialised together. We've been on holiday to Benidorm in 6 years in a row. We've been to Scotland 4 years in a row, camping. We were always together, really.
Steve is also close to his sister, Trish.
I see him all the time. I see. We're on the phone, we send silly texts to each other all the time and emails, and we're constantly on the phone. I go up and see him, we go out for a drink, or he'll come down and have a look at my computer for me if I'm stuck.
I saw him just before Christmas when I came up with my daughter. We went round to his house. Apparently the neighbours were having a party and we went round there. He was happy and having a good time and just generally, you know, just drinking with the neighbours, chatting away.
Christmas is a busy time for Steve and Claire, but after New Year, the couple are back in their normal routine. It's Sunday and the couple are having a quiet evening in.
We were sat watching the telly. We were talking to each other and quite, you know, sociable. And then when it got to 10 o'clock, I went upstairs to bed, thinking he'll come up soon. Next thing I know, it's 5:30 in the morning, and I touched over his side of the bed and he weren't there. So I walked downstairs and the living room door was open. But I walked in the room and I thought, well, the television's off, where's Steve? So I went straight to the curtain, looked out the window, the car had gone.
The first I knew was when Claire texted me at 5:30 in the morning. I gave Claire a ring and she was quite distressed, so I tried to reassure her that, you know, don't panic, he's probably, you know, just gone off for a drive and he'll be back soon.
But by the afternoon, there's still no sign of Steve.
I then decided to come up from London to offer a bit of support for the family and see what we could do about getting him reported to the police.
The police came straight away, gave a description, the car registration, and it just went from there.
The police send out the details of Steve's car to every force in Britain. A national search for his Ford Focus begins. His family concentrate their search in Yorkshire.
Drove all his favourite places, home Moss, up on the Marsden Moors, just to put these posters up.
For days, Steve's brother Chris and son Nathan searched the moors above Huddersfield. They hope if they find Steve's blue Ford Focus, they'll find him.
We looked in fields to see if we could see his car, drove down lanes, went to the local reservoirs. I bet there's no sign of him.
Later on Missing Live, there's a discovery 350 miles away and search teams head to the Scottish Highlands.
Might be call missing people. The number's on your screen now. Just a quick update on a couple of stories from yesterday's programme now. There have been half a dozen sightings of Michael Hunter, which the police are currently looking into. He's from Darlington, a keen walker and recovering from cancer. And 3 possible sightings of Catrice Lee. Now, she's the 2-year-old who went missing in 1981, remember, from a supermarket in Germany. And we'll let you know if we hear any more on that.
Remember Luke? He was on a night out with friends. He vanished from the club and was caught on CCTV on his way home. How can he have disappeared from under the gaze of so many cameras?
19-year-old Luke Durbin lives near Woodbridge in Suffolk with his mum Nikki. He has lots of mates and works at a local deli. 2 years ago, on the 11th of May, Luke goes out clubbing in Ipswich with a friend. But the next day, Luke doesn't turn up for work. Luke is missing. Suffolk police know their investigation will rely on the network of CCTV cameras positioned around the town centre. Gradually, they piece together a picture of Luke's movements after he leaves the club and tries to make his 9-mile journey home.
Around about 2 a.m, a lad who we are 99% sure was Luke was found at Ipswich railway station on the platform asking about the times of trains back to Woodbridge. He was asked to leave the railway station because at that time it was shut. And the person who spoke to him said, although clearly he'd been drinking, he wasn't drunk, he wasn't argumentative, pugnacious at all, and was simply trying to get home to Woodbridge.
Police track where Luke walks. He leaves the closed station and returns to the centre of town, clearly trying to find another way back to Woodbridge.
The next confirmed sighting that we've got of Luke was at 3:20 that morning at a taxi office called Hawk Express, which is in Old Foundry Road in Ipswich. It's a very popular firm, town centre location. Lots of people use it to get home from the clubs.
Luke came in and explained that he needed to get home, but he hadn't got any money. And we sort of tried to go through options that might get him home. He was quite pleasant. We could understand what he was saying. He wasn't drunk, he was just merry. And he shook hands with the driver that was in the office and he said, "Thank you very much." And he went off in the direction we pointed him in.
More CCTV reveals Luke's next movements.
From the Hawk Express taxi office, it's about a 5-10 minute walk to Ipswich bus station. About 4 a.m, we have him emerging from St Stephen's Lane in the centre of Ipswich. We have him crossing a zebra crossing in Dogs Head Street, heading towards the bus station. And 4 a.m. on the 12th of May is the last that anybody has seen of Luke. The missing piece of the puzzle from the night in which he went missing is what happened to him after he went into the bus station. We don't have him leaving on CCTV. We don't have anyone else leaving on CCTV that we can't account for. So it really is a huge mystery as to where he's gone.
There seems to be no explanation. How can Luke simply disappear from a deserted bus station under the gaze of so many security cameras? The investigation that started in the centre of Ipswich now spreads to the port and the river. Police begin searching the waters and the surrounding Suffolk countryside.
Parts of the marina area of Ipswich have been searched by specialist dive officers. Dog officers have walked the routes along the main roads back, searching the verges. The Force helicopter's been utilised to search Heathland very soon afterwards with the thermal imaging equipment.
Over the next 6 months, hundreds of square miles are covered by the police, but Luke's disappearance remains a mystery.
All of those searches have shown no trace of anything to do with Luke, clothing, footwear, or Luke himself.
Later on Missing Live. As the hunt for Luke goes nationwide, could a potential witness in London hold the key?
I recognise him straight away.
You do?
Doesn't look as good as that, though.
Right.
And I think he was in over Christmas.
And if you have any idea what happened to Luke or have anything on any of our appeals, please call Missing People on 0500 700 700. Landlines are free, but calls from mobiles will vary. Well, this is Luke's best friend, Zach. Morning to you, Zach.
Hi.
Thanks for coming to talk to us. You were with him on the night he went missing. Just take us back to that. What happened?
Just a regular lads' night out, really. You know, we hooked up, went out for a few beers, went around our market town, and just regular lads' night out, and ended up going clubbing, and went into a club, and after about an hour of being in there, I was standing at the bar, got a couple of shots, and turned around, and my mate who was on my arm a few minutes before wasn't there. So it was bizarre.
And did you stay there for a bit, waiting for him?
Yeah, I stayed there for about 45 minutes to an hour looking for him, because when you're in a nightclub, you can find a girl, you can go off, maybe not feeling too good, and didn't really make too much of it to begin with. But after a while, I thought maybe he had gone off, so I went back to my mate's house in Woodbridge and expected him either to follow that evening or the next day.
And so when was it you realised that actually he really had just gone?
Probably the next day when we were sitting in the pub at about 5 o'clock, as you do the day after, you'd sit in the pub, talk about the night before, and sort of came to about sort of 3 or 5 o'clock, in between that kind of time bracket, and we sort of realised he still hadn't come back, and that's when it sort of started to become a bit strange, and we rang his mum, and then she rang us back, and it sort of all kicked off from there, really.
And what's it like for you and your friends without him now?
It's huge. It's something I can't begin to explain. He's just such a socialite, and it's just such a buzz of a person being missing. It's really hard for everyone.
And if you knew anybody who's out there perhaps watching and knows where he is, what would your sort of message be to them, really?
I would just really ask anyone who has any information whatsoever to come forward, please, as soon as possible.
And you remember him, I mean, his mum talks about how he was always sort of laughing. What was he like?
The lad's just the pure buzz. I mean, anybody who knew Luke would buzz off him, and he's just such a socialite as a person. That's why it's such a strange case, because if you hadn't seen him 5 minutes ago, somebody else had seen him, and just such a lovely guy. I mean, everybody who knew him had good things to say about him, and he's dearly missed.
Yeah, and if you could talk to him, what would you say?
I really, I don't know.
Okay. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time, and I know it's really upsetting for you to even see the pictures, but thank you very much for coming to talk to us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chantal Tapper is from Stourbridge, West Midlands. She hasn't been seen since the 19th of January this year. She's 5'10" tall, of slim build with long hair and hazel eyes. So if you've seen her or have any ideas where she might be, please call Missing People on free phone 0500 700 700. But please remember, mobile costs will vary.
And there's been a huge response, particularly in the case of Andrew Gosden. There are sightings in London that police are following up right now. He's the 14-year-old who disappeared from Doncaster 7 months ago and was caught on CCTV in King's Cross. We will keep you up to date with what happens on that.
Now, as we saw earlier, Steve Cooper left home in the middle of the night. Now his car's been discovered 350 miles from where he lives.
47-year-old Steve Cooper lives near Huddersfield in Yorkshire with his partner Claire and their children. Steve relies on Claire as he has a painful medical condition and is not able to work. On January the 20th this year, the couple spend a quiet evening in together. But in the early hours of the morning, while Claire was asleep, Steve drives away from home and doesn't come back. The next morning, his family report him missing. The police launch a nationwide search for him and his car. Steve's been gone for 3 days when there's a call from Scotland.
We first came across the vehicle when it was reported abandoned to us round about the 23rd of January. It was members of the Scottish Natural Heritage that work in this area that first reported the car to us.
His Ford Focus is found in the Scottish Highlands. It's 350 miles from his home in Yorkshire, but there's no sign of Steve.
The car was basically just beyond where the police car was. This was the immediate area around here which we conducted the search initially with police dogs. It's very, very thick. Initially we kept quite a small radius around the vehicle looking for any signs of Stephen.
Dozens of volunteers from the Cairngorm Mountain Rescue Team extend the search beyond the forest.
We didn't have a lot of information to go on because in this instance the police didn't really have any idea if the guy was actually going for a walk into the mountains or indeed just out for a drive and had broken down. So there was very little information that we could use to actually start the search.
RAF helicopters are called out. For 2 days, search and rescue teams cover hundreds of miles on foot.
We cleared the mountainside above the forest and then we checked out the base of all the crags, but there was no sign.
Steve's medical condition means he can't walk far. So, on day 3, the emergency services start to search the nearby loch.
We actually took out some kayaks and check the shoreline of the water to see if there was any sign of him in the water, but there was nothing at all.
On day 4 of the investigation, RAF helicopters bring in sophisticated sonar equipment to search the bottom of the loch. Sensors that can detect a submerged body are lowered into the water. But after 12 hours of painstaking work, nothing is found. It's now a week since Steve disappeared from home. Everyone searching for him is mystified.
I've been doing mountain rescue for 30 years, and really in all that time I don't remember not finding someone. But after 3 days we feel we'd exhausted that whole area, and we really couldn't come up with any other ideas for where he could be. It was just like the guy had completely disappeared.
No witnesses come forward to report seeing Steve with his car in Scotland. He was last seen by his family 3 months ago when he spent a normal evening at home. No one can understand why he's disappeared.
There's no hints of any problems, any depression or, no problems with his relationship with Claire. He seemed really happy.
It's all out of character because he used to tell me things, and if there anything bothering me, he used to talk to me about it. So we just want some answers. He'll come back one day, I'm sure he will.
I miss him teasing me, telling me how to work the computer. Going for a beer with him on a Sunday afternoon, going across to the club and playing cards. Miss that.
Chris, you're Steve's brother, but you're also an officer in the Met. How's that changed the way you look at this case?
It's quite difficult, really, because obviously I work on a murder investigation team, and I know what aspects of the inquiries can be done and what can't be done. And to be honest, it's quite frustrating having to take a back step and just letting people get on with it and do their job. Yes, you want to get involved with things and you want to step in there, but you can't do that.
It is hard, and I know from my experience, I used to be an officer in the Met myself, and I know if anyone I knew had to call police, it's so tempting to get too involved, and you just have to take a back step and let the guys do their job, so it must be incredibly hard for you.
It is, it's difficult, and of course I've got family members asking me if I can find out what's going on with the investigation, and I'm sort of trying to be the liaison between the two, speaking to the police and then passing that information back to the family.
I mean, it just seems that there's just no reason for his disappearance, doesn't it?
I mean, we can't understand why. It's the day it was his birthday, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, it's really bad weather conditions, he's left his keys, his house keys, money, credit cards, any form of identification has been left at home, and he's just disappeared, and nobody has got any idea why he's gone.
How are the family coping with this at home?
Obviously everyone's quite distressed about what's going on. My mum's been in Scotland to see where the car was abandoned. She came back a few days ago. My sister, obviously his girlfriend, his son, and of course his friends as well are quite upset as well, you know.
OK, well, very best of luck with the appeal. We really hope that we get lots of calls on this today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now to a family reunited. Derek Asker is 76, and it wasn't until 6 months ago that he found out he's got a sister. Although he was an only child, Derek says he loved every minute of growing up.
I had a tremendously happy childhood. Life was so good, in spite of being a complete loner in the country, and I was never bored.
But all his life, Derek's been baffled by something a woman said to him once.
If I remember, I was about 8 or 9 when I went to Woolworths, and went in there, and then suddenly I saw Auntie Kath, as I knew her, and she said, "Hello, Derek, how are you?" and that, and then she said, "You know that I'm your mother, don't you?"
He didn't know it, but Derek had been adopted. When he asked the woman he'd always known as his mum, she didn't give him a clear answer.
She didn't say that she was. She didn't say she wasn't. But I could feel that she was terribly, terribly upset that she'd lost my love. And I had to say to her, "I really still love you, Mum." and I want to stay with you, Mum. And that was, and that reassured her. But she never ever mentioned it again. She just went on as though nothing had ever happened. And so I had to keep this up as a secret in my heart.
Derek married and now has his own children, and it's through his granddaughter Rachel that he's discovered another secret. Rachel got an email from a woman who thought she might be a relative.
When I first saw the email from Joyce, and I realised there was a possibility of a match, a link, I was like, oh my God, I actually think there's a link. And then you get really, really excited, and then how do I tell him that he's got a sister he never knew about, and it's his actual biological sister?
Finally, Rachel decides to tell her granddad.
I was a bit gobsmacked, I suppose would be the word for it. I was really shocked.
It was exciting for everyone. It's more so, I would say, for Joyce, because she's been looking for him, and then when Derek found out she existed, it was like, it was just big for both of them.
Derek and his sister don't want to waste any more time.
And so I got this phone call, and immediately I heard this girl's voice, lady's voice, and she said, "I'm Joyce, your sister." And we immediately gelled, just like that. We didn't have to gradually get to know each other. It was almost as if we'd known each other all our life. We found that we were absolutely in harmony with the things we felt. It was a wonderful, wonderful feeling, because I felt suddenly that I wasn't completely alone in the world.
What an amazing story. Derek is here with us now, along with his newfound sister, Joyce. Morning to you both.
Morning.
Morning.
How does it feel, Joyce, to have him now after all these years? And you didn't even know he existed.
It's strange, because when we first met, we could actually talk about our grandmother and describe the house inside and different things, and yet he didn't know I existed. I knew once that I had another brother, and that was all. You know, and to be able to sit there and talk about our grandparents as if we'd been together all our lives. It's strange.
Derek, what's it like for you being together?
Well, the funny thing is that the first moment I heard Joyce on the phone, it wasn't like a stranger. It was as if I'd known her all my life. And it was really wonderful feeling to feel so in tune with somebody. There wasn't any sort of reticence or I wonder whether I like her or not. I knew that it was almost as though we'd lived all our lives together.
And there's what, sort of 16 years between you. Are you quite similar?
We are in outlooks and nature and, you know, different things and that. I mean, silly little things like Derek used to make peg dolls and I used to, you know, he's more of a chatterbox than me normally.
And you write poetry? Do you both write poetry?
No, I don't.
I do write poetry, actually. I wrote Romantic as a Star, 1992.
What did you do? What did you do when you first met up? What was a sort of priority? What did you want to do together?
Well, I was working at Butlins in housekeeping, and Derek come down to Butlins to see me for the day, and we went out and chatted and that. But say it's strange that we could talk about family members and aunts and uncles, but the situation was because he was adopted by my uncle. Then my branch of the family was kind of pushed out to protect him. So
it's lovely seeing you two here because you obviously love each other very much. So what are you hoping, Derek, in the future?
Well, I'm going to meet all my new family. And I said, how many are there, Joyce? And she says, let's see, 18, she says. 18 I've got to go and meet, all in one house.
No, 18 include you, there's 17.
Oh, does include me? Oh, sorry.
And presumably there are lots of different ages as well.
Oh, all different ages, yes.
Yeah, I've got 9 grandchildren.
Goodness, I don't know how you're even going to remember their names. Derek and Joyce, thank you.
I can't remember any of them hardly, except I met Jo yesterday, her daughter brought her down.
Lovely.
And Blake.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Also, just wait there a second, because I just want to tell other people as well, if they've got stories like that or they want to make comments on that, they can email us, missing.live@bbc.co.uk. We'd like to hear from you if you've got similar experiences.
And bring happiness.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, your help is needed to find David Venables, a 68-year-old taxi driver from Fifield, Essex. He's not been seen since Friday the 29th of June 2007. His wife just wants to know he's safe and well. David's 5'11", has grey balding hair, and he suffers from Parkinson's disease, and there's concern that he may have run out of medication. So if you know anything about where David is, please contact Essex Police on 01279 641 212.
Just a few moments ago, we spoke to Luke Durbin's best friend, Zach, who told us about the moment he disappeared. There's been a potential sighting of Luke. The search moves to London.
He has a good job, great mates and a loving family. So where is Luke Durbin? On the 11th of May 2006, after a night out clubbing with his best friend in Ipswich, the 19-year-old tries to make his way home. Police track his movements on CCTV through the town centre to this deserted bus station. But at 4 a.m, Luke vanishes. The investigation spreads across the whole region. For months, riverbanks, countryside and farmlands are scoured for clues.
Parts of the marina area of Ipswich have been searched by specialist dive officers. The force helicopter's been utilised to search heathland with the thermal imaging equipment. But all of those searches have shown no trace of anything to do with Luke.
Then, the 27th of December last year, 18 months after Luke disappeared, a call suddenly offers hope of a breakthrough in the investigation. There's been a sighting. A witness reports seeing someone resembling the missing teenager 80 miles away from Ipswich in the East End of London. Detectives Ian Addison and Kevin Coulson come to do their own search in Tower Hamlets. They know this could be their best lead yet.
We're just walking round to look at the location to see if there's anything about that might help us with the inquiry. It's at Brushfield Street at the junction with Commercial Road, where the lad was leaning up against the wall of Barclays Bank here. Then he walked off back round the corner into Brushfield Street and disappeared down towards Liverpool Street Railway Station. Looking around it, it's a fairly well-used area. Lots of people about, so hopefully somebody may have picked something up or remember it. This is him. His name's Luke. You can keep this if you want to.
If anybody's around, it's going to be the mission. Going to go to.
Right, lovely.
Me,
Thanks ever so much for your help. I think with something like this, where there's so little to go on, and there has been for so long, that coming out and talking to people, I think, is the only way that we're going to really make any more progress. Excuse me, I don't know if you can help me. My name's Ian Addison, Detective Sergeant in Suffolk Police. We're doing a missing person inquiry for a lad who's missing from Ipswich. And quite recently we've had a sighting reported of him leaning against the wall of Barclays Bank over there. We've got a poster here.
But I'm sure he's been hanging around there. I recognise his face. Because I've seen him a few times on the wall over there.
Right. I mean, you can keep that if you want to, just to...
Yeah, but I'm sure. I'm sure it's him that's hanging around down there, though. I'm sure it's him.
OK. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
That's the second sighting in the same area. Are the officers getting closer?
Well, there's a sort of canteen place for homeless guys called The Mission, which is not very far away from here and it's close to the Royal London Hospital, apparently. And they think they've seen him there. So, obviously, we'll go there and make inquiries with the staff and see what they can tell us.
If Luke is sleeping rough in London, it's possible he comes to this mission every day for meals. Ian goes straight off to meet the centre manager.
We spoke to some people who directed us to the park, and they say in the park that they think they might have seen him in here. I mean, obviously, you don't instantly recognise him, I assume. From...
No, we do. I recognise him straight away.
You do?
Doesn't look as good as that, though.
Right.
Looks a bit rougher than that. And I think he was in over Christmas. It was during that period of time that I think I saw him.
Right.
All I can do at the moment is I'll put these posters up, show them to the staff first.
Yeah. If anybody's spoken to him from your staff-wise and might have had a chat with him about anything, we desperately would like to talk to them.
OK.
To find out where he might have spoken about, where he might have gone.
Another positive sighting. Could they possibly be getting closer?
It's the first time we've followed up a sighting and had different people in different situations all saying that they recognise the photo on the poster. Now, you obviously have to put a bit of caution on that because time has elapsed. People could overlay the image with their memory to try and, which may distort things in their mind, but different people all saying the same thing within the same area is promising.
If the young man in London is Luke, then this is the most significant development in the 2-year investigation. But for Luke's mum, it's an agonising wait.
I just want that normality again where I'm shouting at him for leaving towels on the bed and, you know, for making a mess and, I don't know, smoking in his room, you know, all the things. I just want all the normal, not this. No one. I just wouldn't wish this on anyone.
If you know anything about where Luke may be, please call Missing People. The number is on the screen now, and Luke's mum, Nikki, will be here with us next week.
And there's also been a number of calls about Alan Templeton, the 25-year-old who went missing from Edinburgh 18 months ago. They're being looked into right now, and we'll update you when we can.
Just before we go, your help is needed to find these people. 22-year-old Nadia Grant is from Hackney in London. She hasn't been seen since the 2nd of February. It was her daughter's birthday yesterday. Her mum will be here tomorrow.
Leanne Seychelles is 14 and has been missing from Lambeth in South London since the 25th of March.
Melissa Mack is 15. She's from Northampton. She hasn't been seen since the 16th of February this year. There have been no calls on her. Please get in touch.
Please do. And 37-year-old Lee Egan went missing last month from Telford in Shropshire.
Also, James Hughes, he's on the front page of lots of the newspapers this morning. He's a 22-year-old. He's still missing, and people are very concerned about him. If you've got any information, please call Missing People. The number is on the screen now. Your call can make a difference.
I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. On tomorrow's programme, we'll have updates on all our appeals, plus the case of grandmother Kay Hawke. Now, she drove away from her home in December 2006, and no one knows why. The grandchildren desperately need your help to find her.
And the man who was separated from his family in the Second World War, he's been reunited with his sister after 55 years. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the same time tomorrow morning. Goodbye.
Bye.